What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Knicks Live. I'm your host, Troy, and you could be anywhere in the world this evening, but you chose to be here with me, and I really do appreciate that because we have so much Knicks content to cover today. We're going to be talking about Julius Randle. We're going to be talking about potentially his extension, or maybe if he can get traded. We have an NBA executive that's actually stating Randle could be traded to a Western Conference powerhouse. We're going to be talking about that. And of course, you already know an NBA insider is pushing for the Knicks to start Julius Randle at the center position. We have so many things to discuss today. I can't wait to do it. But as you guys already know, since it is Knicks Live, when we have Knicks Live, we always have a very special guest with us. This highlights content creators. And I have a content creator with me that you guys definitely know. And if you don't know, you're going to know him today. One half of Still Knicks fans. Please help me welcome Ron. What's going on, Ron? Thank you so much for joining the show. Really appreciate you being here, buddy.
Oh, man. Thank you for having me. Definitely a pleasure to be here. Excited about it and ready to get into the conversation.
You know what, man, Ron? I really am happy to have you on the show. It's funny how we started and how everything kind of came up the way it did, because shout out to Double A if he's watching or soon to be watching. This would have never happened without Double A. We were doing a live stream on Friday. It was breaking down so many different reports. And during that stream, he mentioned a comment saying, what you did with Nick and who I had on the show last week, you should do it with Ron or Still Knicks fans. I'm like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? I should. And then ironically enough, you jump into the stream right after that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is ironic. We have to get it done. And I'm so happy we did, because I think the fans wanted it. Everybody was hype about the show. And I think it's fun to see your favorite content creators kind of collab. And I think a lot of people like me, they like you. So seeing us together, I think makes a lot of sense. I do want to get to, because I know we talk about so many different things on this show. We're going to get to the Julius Randle stuff, all the Knicks stuff, but I want to start highlighting the content creators like yourself, like John, who's been ducking me. But shout out to John. I do want to get to you in the show. As everybody's seeing on screen right now, we see your Twitter there at Still Knicks fans. You see the subscriber list right there on the YouTube page. Please, if you're not doing so already, the link is in the description. All you have to do is click on it and you can subscribe to this man's channel. I said it already and I'll say it again. If you want to help other YouTubers and you want to help make sure this is a better community, support everybody. If you can, support everybody. And this is what this platform is for. Ron, I want to give you some time here to kind of explain your vision of what Still Knicks fans is for you. A little bit about what you guys do, you and John, and obviously what your vision for the show is. And then after that, we can go into a little bit more about, Julius Randle, all these other topics. And shout out to the chat gang. I see you guys. You're lit. You're live. We will get to you. We will get to your comments. Shout out to Knicks Nation. But I want to throw the floor right now to Ron real quick. So Ron, Still Knicks fans, can you please give me some information about what it is, your vision, and how everything came to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, to surmise, really, it's just one of those things. John and I were really good friends. We're like the best of friends. We have our own little clique of guys that all we do is, rag on each other and talk sports. And we, at a moment when we would play sports, but we're a little older now. So it's a little different. Excuse me. But yeah, so we were already talking sports, and John knew that I was kind of, when the pandemic happened, I was kind of thinking about doing something in the podcast world. It really wasn't going to be sports. It was going to be music and R&B stuff, because that's really my passion. I know a lot about it and I'm into that. But at the time, I just thought that with the way things going on social media and the platforms, I didn't know where I could do that. And YouTube is one of those funky places with all the copyright stuff. So I just kind of stayed away from it. Yeah. So John he came up with the idea. He's like, well, why don't you talk about something else? How about sports? I mean, we're always talking sports. Why don't you think about doing that? He said Mets, and then he said the Knicks, because we watched them and stuff. And he said, you know what? I'll do it with you. And that was the boost that I needed, because I was like, I don't know. But when he said, I'll do it, hey, so we could do it together. And if it's funny, it's funny. If it fails, it fails. But it's together. All right, I'm cool. So anyway, we decided to do that. And, it's just been going good ever since. And then, my whole thing is, like, I've been a fan of the Knicks for so many years and watched the ups and downs and all of the crazy, hires and the staff turnover and the bad moves and the jumping the gun and so throughout all of that, I said, man,
Yeah.
I'm still a Knicks fan. That's how we got the name. Still Knicks fans.
I love it,
Throughout
man.
all.
I love it. I love the show. I love what you guys do. I love that you guys get the fans involved as well when you do the show. I caught one of your live streams, I think this past weekend, where you were talking about what the topic exactly was, but I saw my man Double A over there. I saw Rex
Yeah.
over there as well too. It's all the guys over there talking. I love that atmosphere that you guys have. Can you tell me a little bit about that vision and what made you start getting more fan interaction, as in live interaction with them on video on your show? Because we don't really see that too much from content creators.
Yeah. So when we started the show, we started actually on Monday nights, and it was SKF Weekly. And it was just like a recap of what happened with the Knicks for the previous week. But as we were doing that, I started to notice, I was like, man, we're only on one time a week. And, I don't know if that's enough. There's a lot of content creators, but at that time, it was still a little quiet. So it wasn't as much, content competition as there is now. And so I said, maybe we should think about, doing another show. And John, who has a very say tough day job, and he's got 4 kids, so he's got a lot going on,
man.
I was like, I knew he wasn't going to be able to do it with me, so I said, you know what, let me try to do something on my own, and just give it a little bit more content to the channel. And so I decided, let me, I'll give up my Saturday mornings and start talking Knicks on Saturday. And when I did it, started to think Mondays is a show that's a little bit more structured, whereas it's just myself and John. Let's make this one a little bit more open-ended and allow people to come up. Now it started tough because people were kind of shy and didn't really want to get on the panel. But after a while, once you see one do it and another do it, and you feel welcomed, it started to develop into something where people feel very comfortable. So that's how it turned into what it is now. Know the Ledge on Saturdays.
And I'm so happy that fans get a chance to obviously hear that, because now they understand where they can go, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay. Now you understand the page to follow. Again, it's right on screen, at Still Knicks Fans. You can see it on YouTube as well too. Follow the page. It doesn't cost you a dime. It doesn't cost you a thing. It's free, and the content is amazing. If I enjoy it and you enjoy my content, then you're going to enjoy their content. So please give them a sub. It doesn't cost you anything, and you're going to realize why you're going to give them a sub after we talk about all of the Knicks stuff we're going to talk about today. We're going to be starting off with the main reason you guys are here today. It's in the thumbnail, it's the title, and I want to talk about it. The main topic is Julius Randle at the 5 next season. Now, this is something that a lot of people have been talking about, Ron, and I've spoken about it a couple of years ago. Now, that's when I thought it was more of a possibility. Now, I don't think it's a possibility as much anymore. But funny enough, the Athletic's John Hollinger recently spoke about Julius Randle and his role on the Knicks. And as they were talking about potential centers that they could target at the trade deadline, he threw out something. And what he basically said was, and finally, let me offer one other candidate. If this idea would make Thibodeau deeply uncomfortable, but who cares? He's still going to say it anyways. Julius Randle at the 5. Now, Randle at the 5 for me poses a lot of concerns, and I can also see some benefits to it. But before I give my take, before you give your take as well, let's hear what Hollinger has to say on it. So he states Randle playing center means less rim protection, but you do know what makes rim protection a hint less important: not allowing anyone to get to the paint to begin with. The Knicks now have Bridges to man smaller perimeter players and Anunoby to take on bigger ones. They can switch roles through a game, able to show elite players different looks on the same night. Their point of attack defense, as long as everyone is healthy, should be one of the best in the league. On the other side, the Knicks could feast with a lineup of Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Randle, and let's say Dante DiVincenzo. He continues further by stating, offensively, this unit could play at a torrid pace, especially if you're including Josh Hart in that game, pushing rebounds, pushing the floor, and defensively, they should be so solid on the perimeter that it lessens the need for the rim protection. Now, Hollinger basically said after all of this, yes, I think this is at least something that the Knicks need to experiment with throughout the season, especially if Hart is in the game to alleviate some of those potential rebounding issues. Defensively, Anunoby might end up guarding the opposing 5, not Randle in some of those situations. But the lineup is the same regardless. So what they're basically saying is, in some situations, you definitely could have Randle play the 5. but it doesn't mean he's going to be guarding fives. He can shift back to his 4. OG can shift to the 5. Mikal can shift to the 5. There's so many other players you could potentially put there if you want to run that small ball lineup out there. The only question is, will it work? Now, I have my opinion on it. Now, I have my own reservations on it. Before I give mine, I'd like to throw the floor to you and ask your question. We obviously heard from John Hollinger from The Athletic. He clearly believes that Randle at the 5 should be explored and experimented with this season. Now, you've watched the Knicks probably longer than I have, if not just as long. So you got to tell me, Randle at the 5? What are your thoughts on that?
That face, I know it's something that people, I mean, other people have said it and brought it up in the past few years that maybe that's something that Tom Thibodeau should explore. He has dabbled with it from time to time. You can tell he doesn't like it. Even I had Alan Hahn on the show 2 weeks ago, and even Alan brought it up and said that that's something that he thinks that Tibbs is going to try again this year. And he admitted once that it doesn't look like Tibbs likes it. So I'm kind of surprised by it. I can see the versatility and the flexibility that it gives the offense. As far as offensively, it's very dynamic, right? Defensively, it gets a little hairy, and the switching would have to happen with, like you said, a possibility of OG, dealing with the centers. But I don't love it. I think it's on a case-by-case basis. I could see how it could turn the Knicks into something really problematic for other teams, because really, with all the different positions of that you have to account for, with double teaming Brunson or trying to double team Randle, like, you can't do it. And then when you have Mikal floating on the wing and OG floating on the other wing, you're in trouble. So I like it. I just don't know how great Tibbs is going to feel about it.
My take is maybe going to be not as shocking, but maybe more a little bit of a rant. Please, God help us. No. We're making a mistake if we're putting Randle at the 5. Listen, I get the benefits. I'm not saying I don't. I understand it. Randle at the 5 could pose problem for some smaller lineups. But the problem is, it's like doing anything with anybody else. Josh Hart can play the 4. Should he? People can play different roles. It's the fact if that is their premier role, the role they're supposed to play. Randle bully ball at the 4. If I'm telling you last season it was godly and we have a better roster this year to pair him with, what is it going to be this year? Why would you ever want to go away from that? There's a reason the Knicks are looking at backup bigs, because they understand Randle at the 5 would not be the answer. Mitchell Robinson at the 5 clearly is not the answer. Jericho Sims doesn't have enough faith at the backup 5 to have the answer. Preston Achiuwa is too small at 6'8" to be the backup, even though he might play those minutes. So what are the Knicks going to do? You can't supplement Randle in there and think somebody else is going to help you play forward. Who's going to do that? You're going to leave a hole there. And yes, I understand. Maybe the defense stops people from getting in. Those are certain teams. You think you're going to stop the Celtics from getting in? You're not going to stop the Celtics from getting in. There are certain teams you can't stop. So you can't play that lineup against those type of teams. And here's the thing. If you couldn't play that lineup against the best teams in the league, why would you play it against anyone else? Why would you try it out if it's not going to work against the best teams in the league? If it's not going to work against the Celtics, and a lineup like that potentially is what you want to use in the postseason, then my question is, why do you do it in the first place? I understand Hollinger's point here about trying and experimenting when you don't have enough at that position. But here's the thing. We actually do have enough. And with our MLE, we can still sign somebody else. I hate the fact that we think we have to play Randle there because we're devoid of talent there. We have talent there. We're just afraid to play the talent there because we don't know if it's going to survive till January, when we can make the trade for whoever the center is going to be at the trade deadline. But that's the whole thing. We're making moves now, not because we feel the need to make these moves because it's a smart decision to make at this time. Maybe they are, but it's more so because we're biding our time. We understand what the situation is. We need another backup 5. We don't have one. We're going to ride off to the sunset until we can make that move. And the only time you're going to do that is on December 15th when Preston Achiuwa is ready and available to be traded. So I don't see another reason why the Knicks would ever make a move to Randle at the 5. Thibs has never done it, to your point. It'd be a shift in thinking. It defensively, it's ridiculously dull. It doesn't make any sense to do this defensively. And for Tom Thibodeau, if your goal is to have the best lineup out there, then you'll never, ever see Randle at the 5, because it would never make sense. It would never, ever be called the best lineup out there if Randle's playing the 5. If that's happening, Ron, there has to be a number of issues that have forced that situation to happen. So, that's how I
think
see it.
that's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be the only thing the only way I could see it possibly is maybe if they are playing a team that is playing small ball, like seriously small ball. Sometimes the Orlando Magic showed us a real small lineup, or maybe some team of that nature that maybe I could see it there. You definitely wouldn't want to do this against a team with a true center, a 7-footer.
No
Like
way.
I don't see why you would do that. Yeah.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Personally, for me, it makes no sense to me. In order to use Randle in that way, you lessen his abilities, and because of the fact that he plays center, he's going to have to think about different things. You're going to change his mindset. You change his mindset, he's already focused on a couple of things. You don't want to change any. You want the game to be as easy as possible for your players. You don't want them to even think. It just should be read and react. You can't read and react properly if you're not playing your right role. You can't. It's impossible. I don't care who you are. You're not a center. You can't read and react like a center would. So I get the whole thing from Hollinger here, but in my opinion, it would be a horrible move. It would be a terrible move, Ron. I would hate the move. But if they did it, I guess I could understand it, trying to experiment and things like that. It just would not be a move that I would want to go too fast. I do want to say shout out to everybody who's smashing the hearts. All I'm seeing on my end right now, Ron, is a bunch of hearts floating up on the top of my screen. It's ridiculous. Thank you guys so much in the chat. Let's go to some comments real quick before we go to the next topic, Ron. I don't want the chat gang to feel like we're eluding them here.
Could I say one more thing about this before you go to the comments?
Yeah.
To your point, another thing to think about when you said the whole thing about a center's mentality and understanding that role.
Yeah.
It's a good point to bring up, especially with Julius Randle, because we do know Julius Randle is not, even though he can bang down low and shows the physicality, he likes to move around in the perimeter and the mid-range area. So if you put him at the center spot, not only you forcing him to be down low more than he really would like to, you're also putting him in a position where he can't be what he wants to be. Because if he tries to float out on the perimeter, now you're losing one of your better rebounders that's going to be out on the floor at that time.
You lose the banging as well too inside. You lose all of that because he's outside. That's the whole thing. I understand the need for it, but I feel like it's sometimes these ideas are thrown out there with not a lot of thought in terms of the players, the roster, the coach, and what type of moves that we're gonna probably make. So I just didn't understand it from Hollinger. And I actually respect Hollinger as well too. So I was pretty shocked by a lot of his comments. Actually, I made a video the other day about him mentioning Draymond Green to the Knicks. Literally lost my lunch. It was the most disgusting idea I ever heard in my life. He's disrespected the Knicks every day of his life, I feel like. Why the hell do I want him anywhere near my team? No, thank you. Going out to the chat gang, appreciate everybody who's responding right now. Some of your comments will be seen on screen. Some of them I'll read because I can't fit all of it on screen because me and Ron are on screen. We have Raph from Raph Knicks Podcast saying, at Knicks Recap, at Still Knicks Fans. What's up, y'all? Great live stream. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Great to have you with us, and great for you to be here and join us as well too. I really appreciate that. D-Block says, salute to everyone and my brothers Recap and Ron. Well, salute to you as well, my brother. I really appreciate that. We're so happy to have you and so happy to have you tuning in. John says, I don't like Randle at the 5, but it's only for a few minutes or situational. I think it can work. I think that's to your point, Ron, what you were saying, that in a few situations, depending on the team that you're facing, it could make sense. But again, it's all about the center mentality to my point. And I don't think Randle has that. So I think it's a good conversation to have. That's why I wanted to have it. Lupa says, hello, Troy. What's going on? Hit that like from Andios. Appreciate that. TK Magic Shop says, no way put Randle at center. In my opinion, that's wild. I was saying that to Ron the entire time. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's no reason to do that. You mess up the team chemistry by moving somebody who has no business playing the 5. He's never really done it and not done it in a way that's been successful. And I don't think he's going to be more successful now. So I appreciate that. And thank you so much for the comments. Let's keep it going here. I think we have the comments on screen now. Well, it should be the comments on screen, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we have JM says, Ron, Troy, salute. Okay, Big Ron. Need feedback. Should Randle be traded? You need feedback on that? You didn't hear what me and Ron were saying the entire time? We're going to go into that topic. It's actually the last topic we're going to cover. So if you want to hear about Randle, potential trades, if Randle's even going to be traded at all, Stay tuned till the end because that's the last topic we're talking about. And I promise you it's a doozy. But shout out to the chat gang. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for participating tonight. Stay active. Stay over there. I promise you, as I see the chats coming in and I see the comments coming in, we will continue to go to you. But I want to continue the show because everybody wants to know about Julius Randle, Ron. That has to be the main concern or question right now with most people talking about the Knicks because of that extension. Really, it's so funny because the questions and everything else starting before he signed it was, oh, he's definitely going to sign it. He's definitely going to sign it. He's going to get it offered. No, he's not going to get it offered. They're not going to sign him. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. And then August 3rd comes around, the day he's eligible. And what happens? Nothing. Crickets. Next day, what happens? Nothing. Crickets. Now everybody's in an uproar. Well, I don't know what's going on anymore. And I think Randle should be traded. And he can't be traded. He's a core member, a core piece of this team. In my opinion, that's where I stand, but people have their own differences. If you're an NBA executive, though, Ron, sometimes you take your take from this level and you expand it so far that it can't fit on a page. You got to create an article about it. And that's exactly what happened with theheavy.com. Shout out to them. They gave us a report about an NBA executive that states that he's stating that Randle potentially could be traded to a Western Conference powerhouse. That team being the Los Angeles Clippers, which is wild to me because I haven't hearing that team at all, especially in regards to Randle. So that's something that I wanted to discuss today. And according to Sean Daveney from theheavysports.com, in a recent article, he revealed the conversation he had with an NBA executive that floated the LA Clippers as a potential suitor for Randle in the trade market that may otherwise have little options for in New York. The exact quote is the following here. The Knicks do not have a lot of options trying to find the team to take Randle. I want to mention, by the way, nobody at all said that we want to trade Randle, we want to give Randle up, that Randle is available for trade. That hasn't happened. So I don't know what this executive is even talking about. I'm going to continue that, but I just read that. It got me a little bit mad, so I had to mention it before I continue, Ron, because if I didn't, I would have been fuming. So apologies, everybody, but I had to do that. Go back to the report here, though. Going back to this report, as we see here, there's not a lot of teams you can drop him being Randle, into the lineup, and they'd be fine. And there's not a lot of teams that want to match up contracts there. But the Clippers could. They want another star for that group. Look around. That is one of the few places where it makes logical sense. Well, logical is a bit of a stretch for me, but because I haven't heard the Clippers at all before. But shout out to the heavy.com and his NBA executive, which again basically stated that the Los Angeles Clippers could be a team that would like to trade for Julius Randle. After hearing this report, Ron, again, this is from an NBA executive, obviously anonymous, because when you give bad takes, you got to remain anonymous. What do you think about Randle potentially headed to the Clippers? Do you think that's a possibility? And do you think it could even happen?
I guess anything's possible. Personally, I don't see it. I like this whole business of trading Julius Randle is real. It's weird for me. You know what I mean? Like my whole thing is I don't want to trade Julius Randle just to trade Julius Randle. There has to be some sound reasoning behind it. I need to see, like, first off, I think as an organization, the New York Knicks have two things they need to worry about. One, with the team that they put forth out there that's going to be this 2024-25 season, will everybody mesh? Will everybody gel? They were gelling before, prior to Randle getting hurt. Then he got hurt, and they've had to kind of, carry the load without him, and they worked really well together. OG was dominant, doing what he had to do, and then even when they lost out on OG, the Knicks still persevered. They still carried on and made it deep into the playoffs for all intents and purposes. So I think I know there's been rumors that there's somebody in the organization that's a little concerned about the fit, doesn't know if Randle's going to fit with this current roster, but you got to give it a chance. You got to see what it is first. That's my thought. See what it is, right? See obviously where Randle is health-wise, how much time he needs to kind of get back into, because if Randle's not healthy, it doesn't look good. I don't care who you're trying to trade him to. They're all going to be like, oh, this guy's damaged goods. We don't want him. So you want Julius Randle to get back to Julius Randle, right? So that's the first thing I think you need to do. It's all about basketball. Can we win games? Can they gel? Can they have that continuity? And then after that, then it becomes, well, if Randle looks like he's playing the way we're used to seeing him play, now it's the contract stuff. Can we work something out with a deal? If two sides are too far apart, then you think about trading him at the trade deadline, get him out of here so you don't lose him, for nothing. But other than that, I don't think I'm just going to throw. I don't care who calls me. I'm not ready to trade him yet. We'll talk later. I'll let you know. There's no reason for me. And the Clippers, I don't even know where that comes from. I don't get it.
It doesn't make any, again, folks, listen, I don't hate on a lot of things. I'm not a hater by any means, but this report is crazy to me. Los Angeles, what would they give us for Julius Randle at this point? What would it be? Sorry, guys, I think we got froze a little bit there, folks. YouTube, again, guys, is always causing issues, but we got it fixed here. We're good. Like I was saying, though, with regards to with Julius Randle, the main thing with Randle at this point is that, don't know what's going on here. There's a lot of things going on here. Okay, never mind. With Julius Randle, though, at this point, it's always something on YouTube. You know how the live things go, guys, but I really appreciate everybody for sticking with us and always making sure that you guys are staying with the chat and making sure everybody's in here with us. But again, with the Julius Randle situation, Ron, I just do not understand why we would even consider or even want to trade him to Los Angeles. Trade him at all, mind you. There's nobody worth trading Randle for. There's two people on this planet right now that I would trade Randle for. Two. Giannis and Joker. That's it. And it's only because of the numbers. I'm not trying to lose my brain here. These are numbers based. Randle, whether you like him, you hate him, you don't like him, I don't care. Do this statistically. Look at his numbers, his impact, and what he would give you. Look at anybody else in the league. Who would give you a similar impact if they were traded to a team? Mind you, the chemistry would never be the same. Never. You couldn't replace Randle. You can't. Even if you got the best player available in the league. Even if you got Giannis. Here's something nobody's going to like. Even if you got Giannis, his first year would not be a better fit than Julius Randle because it takes time to learn. You need to learn. Did Dame and Giannis work? Everybody told me that was a super team. They didn't do anything super last year. Not a super team to me. We have to prove it. I understand that. The Knicks have a lot of things to prove, Ron. I get it. But we need to prove it with Randle. Trading Randle without seeing what's going to happen here, without understanding what Randle gives this team, his impact, seeing what it could be with OG and Mikal and Jalen and Mitchell Robinson, it's a robbery to fans. It's a robbery to us who's waited this long to see a team like this. My entire lifetime, I've never had a window for winning. Never. For the Knicks never had a window. I barely had blinds on my window. Never. We just got the window installed last year, and now it's open finally, and we're doing something with it. But we can't talk about Julius Randle as if he's some bum on the street that doesn't do anything. And a lot of fans treat Randle as if he's not an impactful contributor. And it bothers me because it's like ever since the thumbs down, Ron, everything has shifted. And I get it. You're upset. I understand. But we have to forgive and forget. He's a different person, a different player. The team is different. We're this close to a championship. You're still upset? It doesn't make sense to trade him anywhere at this point. What does make sense is to watch him rise. The value needs to increase. He has in my opinion, his value probably is worse than it's ever been before right now because you haven't seen him play anything yet. With the injuries, he's getting older to your point. The contract year that he's in. Nobody's going to want him on an expiring deal as well, too, because they know they're going to have to pay him. It doesn't make, you're not going to get the same value, folks. And if you know Leon Rose, what does he work on? Value. He doesn't make a move without getting the cost back. You think he'd trade Randle for 2 second-rounders, a very kind of good star like Jaren Jackson Jr. and some other pieces? You're out of your mind. It wouldn't happen. James Dolan gave this man the backing. He's backed by Dolan, by Rose, by Gerson Rosas, by Worldwide West. That's the brain trust of the Knicks. He's not going anywhere unless he wants to. Ron, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, Ron? Why is this happening every year? It's another story every year. It bothers me. It bothers me. Can you explain the hate for Julius Randle? Is it really because of the thumbs down? Or can you explain it? Do you understand it as much as I do? Because I don't understand why it's still present today. I don't understand why it's here today.
I wish I knew. I'll be honest. I wish I knew. I've asked the question multiple times on my show. I asked Alan Hahn. I'm like, man, Alan's around. He sees all these people. He knows what is it? And I guess I'm just gonna go with what Alan told me. It's just that Julius Randle is a piece that is very attractive when you're trying to make any type of move. And I think, whether it be the organization, whether it be other GMs, whether it be other fans, whether it be our own fans, people know that if you want to try to get anybody good, it's got to start with Julius Randle, because you're not trading Jalen Brunson. So it's kind of like he just gets it by default. So that's for a lot of the quote unquote smart thinking fans who actually like the team and want to win and want to get to the promised land. And then there's still people. I mean, I thought it would be over, but you said it. You brought it up. The thumbs down still affects certain people. There's some people that have not moved on. I heard I had a conversation with somebody maybe about 6 months ago or so, five to 6 months, still bringing up the thumbs down. I'm like, whoa. I mean, hey, what can you say?
I don't know what the therapy maybe. There's a if you're talking about the thumbs down now, you have problems at this point. You can't be affected. We are in contention mode. What are we doing? This executive, I don't know who it is, but the Los Angeles Clippers move, again, it's a far cry from anything that would make sense. Even if I wanted to trade Randle, the last place I would trade him to would be the Clippers. They have nothing that I would want. I don't even want Kawhi at this point is getting up to the point where I would say, yeah, I don't think I want Kawhi because of the load management, the injuries. Had to leave Team USA because of more injuries. I mean, what are we doing here? I don't even know when he's going to play again. The thing is, the Clippers have nothing to offer us. It would be horrible. It would be one of the worst trades we would have made. The only other worst trade before that is the Karl Anthony Towns trade. If they got Karl Anthony Towns for Randle, that'd be the next biggest massacre of horrible, terrible trades. And I hear it all the time from my audience. I hear it from your audience, all Knicks fans really. They talk about the same type of trades. They want to see all these things, but they don't magically want to see how it would look now. We've never seen this roster before. Why do we have to do anything? We've done enough. Let's just use the mid-level, get the other center, whatever player we need, and ride it out into the season. Best team we've ever had in my lifetime. What about you, Ron? What would you rank this team for you, Ron, in terms of teams you've seen for the Knicks?
So I will say it's starting to become maybe the best Knicks team I've seen, but it's not there yet.
Right.
I did get to, witness the teams in the 90s, and they may not have been the sexiest teams offensively, but they were special defensively, and that tough grit they had. Like, you just knew that when you went to the Garden, or if you were watching them on TV every night, they had a chance to win. So, and they did that for a few years. So I would say they're still right there above, but this Knicks team is different because I feel like I've been here. And I was talking about this the other day. Like that team in the 90s, I was still a young, high schooler. I'm just watching basketball, but I didn't see how it was all built. But we're actually watching this team get built. We're seeing the rookies being involved. We're seeing the acquisition of Brunson, OG, McCall. I saw when Julius came over. Like, I'm seeing everything. And you just feel a lot more connected when you get to see all of these guys come over and work towards this to get to this point where they're at now. So, yeah. If the Knicks win a championship, or even if make the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals, they may already push above what I looked at with the 90s, because it's a different feel.
And I've watched some of those 90s as well too. For me, about 25 plus years going on. Watched a lot of it with my dad around the 90s as well too. I still remember the shot that never happened. I still remember that, and my father breaking down in tears. And I understood why very, very, very soon after. And I felt the suffering since then. So for me, I kind of feel, what's the word? Not nostalgic, because that never felt this way before. New. I've never been here before. It's new territory for me to kind of puff my chest out and say, I'm a Knicks fan. Because never before you used to be like, hiding it. Like, I'm a Knicks fan. Like nobody used to be proud of it. But like now everybody's kind of puffing their chest out about it. I like that fact that New Yorkers feel proud of their team again. I've always been proud to be a Knicks fan, even when they were losing. I've always loved my team. But I know a lot of fans didn't like that. They didn't like the losing because they didn't like to say, hey, I like a losing team. But hopefully now they feel a little bit better. The Knicks are making the moves they need to make. I think they've done everything that they need to do in terms of this offseason. They've been one of the best teams, in my opinion, of all offseason long. Leon Rose, president, GM, whatever you want to call him, probably the best out of everybody. in the offseason thus far. Maybe Sam Presti's up there as well too. But I mean, hey, listen, the moves that they've made to become a championship contender after all the injuries you've had, everything you're dealing with, I think it's pretty impressive. Seeing the chat on screen here, shout out to everybody on screen here. We see Jess Nick saying Randle hasn't played with this team. Question Gilman. What is he saying? Question Gilman. Not sure what that meant. John Petty says, arguing with the refs tell me one player that doesn't do that. LeBron argues with the refs more than he plays defense. I guess that they're talking about Randle in regards to what they do when he's in the game, if he complains, because I know it's been a lot of big thing for Randle. That when he's in games, sometimes he just keeps complaining with the referees going at them. I don't remember seeing that in January at all, actually, or even after the trade, really. I don't remember seeing that. Ron, do you recall any issues with Randle and him complaining? I really don't feel like he started doing that after the trade. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think so. There's a little. I don't know how do they mean complaining? Like on court complaining?
I'm assuming they mean on court complaining to the refs. How after the calls, how he gets angry, all that stuff.
Okay, I didn't see a lot of that personally.
Yeah.
When he was, because I do know that there is a video going around from some once again going back to someone who wants to get Julius Randle up out of here, of Julius kind of talking to Jalen Brunson about a play and not being the nicest about it, arguing about something. But that's going to happen on the basketball players or any sports team. Guys are going to talk, and they're not always going to agree on everything, especially when it's heated, your competitor in certain moments. But that doesn't mean 2 minutes later they weren't piecing it up, giving each other a pound and oh, we good, we're gonna get them.
Everybody really complains. It's not exclusive to Randle to complain. LeBron was complaining in the USA game the other day. This is the Olympics. So I mean, competition is going to give you that. Competition is going to make you complain. So I mean, I don't understand why people are so against Randle, against what he means to this team, and just more so against everything he does, because he gets criticized more, I think, than most other people in our entire organization. Think about any player. Besides maybe Mitch, he probably gets a lot of the hate unnecessarily, in my opinion. I don't think he deserves any of it. Shout out to John Talento in the chat. Salute to you. He says, and now let's get started. He loves that line. I appreciate you. A lot of people like that line. I got to get a shirt with that, I think. Shout out to the chat gang. We will get to your comments as well, too. We got to wait for more people to come in and build it back up again. So don't worry, we'll get back to that. But if you guys didn't know, tonight's live stream is again with me and from still Knicks fans, Ron. Very special collaboration that we're having tonight. Just talking about all the things about the Knicks. Specifically, though, we're talking about Julius Randle. We talked about earlier in the show, the last video, which you guys can check out after this one, where we talked about Julius Randle potentially, going to the Clippers. We talked about that. So that's a crazy amount of things that we talked about there. You're definitely going to want to check that out. We talked about if Randle should play the 5. Not something else you're going to want to talk about. Again, we have a lot of opinions on it. I'm sure you guys have your opinions on it too. But if you want to know ours, just go back to that video after this one and we'll get to that. The last topic that we're going to talk about today, before we jump into the questions with all of the fans and get to what you guys have to say and talk about, I want to talk about the Julius Randle situation when it comes to, will he sign that extension? Will he stay? Will he be traded? And that's kind of where we want to, where I want to end today. Will the Knicks trade Julius Randle? We kind of talked about it with the Clippers a little bit, and I appreciate that. But I want to do a little bit more of a big dive into it, because the real question here is, or at least why we're talking about Randle potentially being traded, is because of that extension. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Randle is eligible to sign a $180+ million extension with the Knicks at this point in time. But if he does not sign it and we head into the season, he will be in a contract year, meaning he will be an unrestricted free agent by the time the season ends, and he could walk if he wants to. And the walking part seems to have everybody in up in arms, very concerned that he could leave. I have a very, very distinct opinion on that because I understand who Randle is. I understand what he brings to his organization and all those great things as well too. But maybe some people don't, and they think that Randle is expendable and he can be moved, and maybe they're waiting for this season to prove their point right. And if that's who you are, I have no problem with that. At least you're not going the opposite way and criticizing him with everything. You're just waiting for something to criticize. And while that's bad as well, too, I don't hate it as much. Ron, for you, Randle trade, but more importantly, before we get to the trade, because the trade aspect I think is going to be affected by the extension. Let's talk about that extension. August 3rd came and went, wasn't extended. We're in August 7th now, still not extended. And I don't know if he is going to get extended. The reports are coming out that it's unlikely that he is. Ian Begley reported it's not at the forefront for him or for the Knicks. So here we are, August 7th, and I ask you, like I'm asking everybody else, Julius Randle, does he extend with the Knicks this offseason?
I'm gonna say he does. I'm gonna say he does because, you know, the only caveat to it would be if I thought that the Knicks would not give him a fair offer. But I think they will, because in most cases, I would say maybe 9 times out of 10, I think they've tried to give all of the players that they've had that have done something for the organization a fair offer. And with Julius, it's a little different. Julius, like you mentioned before, you know, he has a great relationship with ownership. Dolan loves him. You know what I mean? So that alone says a lot. Plus, as Knick fans, we know, I mean, the organization, people, you know, that are in place, they saw Julius Randle came here, took a 2-year, $18 million deal, you know, $18 million per. Like, other people weren't really clamoring to come to New York at that time, and he did. And then after, when he was eligible for his extension, he took less money. So I would think that the Knicks are going to try to do their best to give him as much money that they feel is fiscally possible for his skill set and his talent. And I think it will be enough that if he's the type that took a discount before, and he's going to take a discount no matter what, because, you know, he's eligible to get a certain amount. The Knicks are never going to give him whatever that amount is, because I think because of his tenure in the league, it might be high 200s, 262, who knows. They're not going to give him that, but I do think they're going to offer him something that is more money than he's making now, and will make him feel welcome. So it's all about, if he says, because every time Julius has an interview, I want to bring a championship to New York, I think he's a man of his word, and I think he'll sign the extension.
Oh, it's funny. I actually don't agree. I don't think he will get an extension this offseason. I understand your point of view on it. I understand why it would make sense to, because you pay him now, you're going to pay him less.
I apologize. Maybe I misunderstood what you were asking. Oh, you mean this?
Yeah, this offseason. Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. You mean he's going to get extended at some
general.
point?
Yeah, right. Yeah. In general,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with that. I do think he's going to get extended at some point by the Knicks or another team, likely next offseason. I don't think any extension is happening this offseason just because of the fact it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help. Julius Randle already took less. He's going to still take less, but he's not going to take less off of this extension. He's going to take less off of the next extension that he gets, which is the more max extension, which makes sense because he already didn't take the max. So it's okay for him now to take close to the max. OG Anunoby took close to the max. I mean, Jalen Brunson may have not taken close to the max now, but it's already reported and rumored that in 5 years, he's going to take close to $500 million?
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like he's not going to get paid. We're going to see these guys get paid at some point in time. Julius Randle, for me, the payment, the staying with the Knicks, all of that is based off of this season. And I don't have no fear in saying that. Randle's role, what he means to this organization, what he's going to mean to this team moving forward is all going to be determined on what he showcases this year. Regular season and especially postseason. Everybody's been waiting for the postseason. Everybody's been wanting to see what happens in the postseason. But honestly, waiting for the postseason is the main thing for most Randle haters, because they need to see it there before they can find something else to gravitate to. Because right now, that's the biggest thing they have. Randle's not good in the postseason. You can continue to say that. My only argument to that, Ron, I always say it, the biggest issue for me is that Julius Randle, when he's been on this team, this is the best roster he has right now around him. He's never had this roster before. He's basically the second, maybe third option some nights on this team. He's never been that before on this team. We don't know what a Randle as a third option on this team could look like. And he already said, like, to your point, my goal is to increase my efficiency and win a championship. Oh, sounds like he's ready to make sacrifices to me. Doesn't sound like he cares about being any option to me. That's the type of players I want on my team. The players that understand what sacrifice means, Ron. It's so hard to get players that understand that this time is not your time, not your role. So many people come to a team and want to be the guy, the player, the Jalen Brunson. But they can't be Jalen Brunsons, not plural. It's one, because there's only one. We have a superstar on this team. Why not let the superstar call it and everybody else find your role around him? It seems like a Randle understands that he needs to do that. It's clear that Mikal is going to do that. OG bought back in because he's going to do that when everybody was telling me that he wanted more of an offensive role. Well, why would he buy in with the Knicks again then, taking less than the max, when he knew we have Mikal Bridges, Julius Randle, and Jalen Brunson there? That doesn't sound like he's going to get a lot of minutes on offense, but he still chose to resign here because he understands the goal. It's a championship. You don't get a championship without sacrifice. You got to sacrifice, whether it's money, whether it's playing time, or whether it's both. You need to do that. And the Knicks have found players willing to do a little bit of both. Jalen sacrificing money, Randle sacrificing role, Mikal sacrificing time. Doesn't matter. Sacrifices all lead to the same goal. And that's what I'm talking about, Ron. This is where we are. And I've never been here before. We're on the cusp of a championship. We're talking about the Knicks being in an NBA Finals next year. When have you ever talked about the Knicks being in an NBA Finals a season prior to the season starting? I don't remember doing that with Patrick. Don't remember doing it with him. As good as those 90s teams were, as much as we knew they were going to be in the playoffs, nobody called them being in the NBA Finals. But we got to face that monster Bulls teams with Michael every single night. We knew how that was going to go. So we could never feel confident enough to say that. First time ever I feel confident enough to say that we could potentially see ourselves in the NBA Finals, because the only team you got to worry about is that green team up there, the reigning defending champions, which we have a team built to beat. Your thoughts on that, Ron, in regards to the Knicks and their roster against the Celtics? Do you think that we're the biggest threat against them in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, no, I think we really are from top to bottom. There may be, I mean, you know, Philly has something interesting with that starting unit they got going on, but once you get past that starting unit and start to dig into their bench, I mean, what are they? You know what I mean? You talk about Milwaukee. I did a comparison the other day of 10-man rotations. You look at their starting unit. It's interesting. I don't think it's as potent as even Philadelphia's, but you know, once you get into that bench, same question gets asked again. Like, what does that bench look like? And you know, in fairness to Boston, I will say they I don't know how they did it, but they are a well put together team. They've got all types of offensive weapons over there. They've got great defensive weapons over there, and they have a solid bench. So I definitely do think out of all the teams in the East, definitely we already see Indiana as a pretender. Orlando may not be ready yet. So I really do think that the Knicks are the best team suited to knock them off. I think they're built that way, as to your point. The only thing that would really put me in a more comfortable level is if we had a strong backup center to go along with whatever Mitch is doing, and if we happen to lose
be careful,
Mitch
be careful. You're going to anger the Mitch Hive. Be careful with your words here.
Oh, I know. But but the whole thing is, once again, guys, you know, if you watch me, I believe in Mitch. I just think we need to have a backup just in case. Yeah. That's what one thing we have talked about, and you can't say anything other than that. The Knicks have tried to address their holes. They have somehow come up with a backup at every position. They get it. So I'm assuming they're going to want to do that for the center position at some point too. But but I definitely think we're right there. We are right there with Boston.
And I mean, listen, the Knicks in the center position, right? I mean, we all notice it. We all see it. They are making moves at that position. Why? Because they feel confident. I don't know about you. When I don't feel confident about something, I usually try to make a change. So it looks like the Knicks are making a change. No knock to Robinson for being the player that he is. But honestly, I mean, what do you expect at this point with the Knicks to do? We're a championship contender. You can't rely on Mitchell Robinson maybe playing 50 games. It is what it is. And that's maybe 50. Who knows what could happen with Mitch? And Mitchell Robinson right now is the biggest crux of this entire thing, because if he can play 65 games, at least, we could probably be number 1 seed. I believe that. We have the roster, we have the talent, we have the skill, we stay healthy. Why can't we be number one? Why is it crazy for us to be a number one seed? Here's another crazy take, just because I want to say it. And we're going to get to the comments. We're going to jump to the chat very soon. I think in the next couple minutes, and then the last 30 minutes or so for me and Ron, we're going to talk to the chat, talk to you guys, get some of your comments, speak to you a little bit before we end off here a little bit, because I got to edit a show now. Thanks to YouTube. Appreciate you, YouTube. Let's keep it going here. With regards to again with Mitchell Robinson, like I said before, it's not a hate thing. It's not something to go up in on flames about. It's just saying what it is. If you have a championship roster, if you're looking to compete for a championship or a title, you want to be sure at every position. We're not sure at the center position. We're looking to explore options there. The writing is on the wall. It's clear. Mitchell Robinson is not somebody that might be somebody that the Knicks have faith in right now. And that's okay to say. He's injury prone. That's okay to say. Does it make him a bad player when he's available? No. It is what it is. It's fact. I don't wish it wasn't fact. I wish I couldn't say he was injury prone. It wouldn't be fact. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that. So shout out again to this Knicks squad. I think they have the best roster we've seen before. But with regards to the win total, like I said, I want to get to. Win total for me. Knicks are winning 60-plus games, Ron. They're winning 60-plus games. I have them at 61. I have them at 61 games because I think we have the roster to destroy the entire league. I don't think there's many teams when we're on that's going to beat us, Ron. I really don't. And the chemistry aspect is off the charts. The chemistry aspect is why I have it at 60. If we didn't have the chemistry, I would put it at 55, around there, because I don't know. But chemistry, that's the biggest reason why you win games. And they have it. They have it in spades. They added a player that knows nearly everybody on the roster already, including your superstar point guard. I got 61 games. To that, you say what?
Do I think this Knicks team could win 61 games? Yes. Am I going to say that they will? No. I'm going to stay a little bit more, calm with my jumping out the window. I'm going to say 55. I'm going to give them 55 just because, throughout the course of the season, no matter what they try to do, the team is going to get tested. And as much as you want to keep everybody, knock on wood, healthy, there's going to be certain things that do pop up. I hope it's not to the level that we saw this past year with the new training staff and a new head of their health, staff. I think we'll be in better shape, but you still know that anything can happen and will. So yeah, I'm going to say 55. Which is not a bad thing. I think if the Knicks win 55 games, go into the playoffs confident, they're winning, around that time to keep the continuity going. I think we're in great shape. And we saw a team in the Phoenix Suns win 66 games and go nowhere.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think I agree with you to an extent that I believe the Knicks are going to take care of business this season. They're going to do what they need to do. The win total, 55, I'll give it to you. That's not a bad win total. Actually, I think that's ESPN's win total. I believe they predicted 55, if I'm not mistaken. So, which is cool. I don't mind it. 55 is good. Yeah, that's a great team, by the way. You win 55 games. I'm not mad at that. But I know this team can win 60. I know they can. They have the talent. They're too talented. The chemistry's off the charts. The East right now has a new big three, if anybody didn't notice. Big three right now is Boston, New York, and Philly, in that order. And only reason Boston is there is because they're the defending champions. Because I think the Knicks are a better team than Boston right now with the roster that we have. The wings that we have can shut down to an extent, to however much you can shut down a superstar, in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And if you bother them, which is all you can really do, that's when you get other people in the Celtics to get involved. And that's how you defeat the Celtics. You make it more of their team trying to expand and pass that ball around. You think passing the ball would be a detriment to a team. With the Celtics, them passing the ball around means that they're trying to shuffle it back to Tatum, back to Brown, because they understand that's where their offense is going to come from. The Knicks have the ability now to shut it down. They have two players that can switch on both of their superstars, whether they're in the paint or coming into the paint. We haven't had that before, Ron. So I love our chances this year. I think we're going to be a great team, one of the best teams in the league. I might be homering it a little bit because I'm a Knicks fan and I can't help myself. But you know what? I just have that feeling. I had the same feeling before 2013. Same feeling. Couldn't explain it. Didn't know why. We saw what happened. Now, the feeling I have this year is a little bit different because this feeling is like it can last year after year after year. But we're going to see what happens. Shout out to the chat gang. We have about 25 minutes or so, Ron. I want to talk to the chat gang, see what they have going on. Right now is the time to get your comments in. So hit up the chat. We're going to go through all of them. David Smith says the Knicks will probably win in mid-50s. However, the playoffs are really matters. Second round exits no longer good enough. That's true. I guess that's a good point, actually. What is the definition of success for this Knicks team this season? I think with all the talent, with everything that they've added, I would say success probably is defined by Eastern Conference Finals. What would you say?
I would agree with that. I think a lot of people want to put finite stuff on this Knicks team because of what they've already done and having Tom Thibodeau here. But I will say that, yeah, Eastern Conference is the that's the barometer. Like, that's the minimum for this team. If we were good enough to possibly get to the Eastern Conference last year, if health would have worked out for the team, I don't see why they shouldn't be thinking that. I mean, if you ask Jalen Brunson, we know how he feels.
Yeah.
It's championship or bust for Jalen, which that's why he's our captain. You got to love him. But I think that's it. I think for me, it's Eastern Conference is where we got to get to. But I do definitely think that, if we have a healthy team, this team can make it to the finals. I think they can knock off Boston, like we already talked about. And it's interesting because when you look at the Knicks teams, every year, it's always fighting against the analysts and the prognosticators, right? CBS giving the Knicks the craziest odds to win games I've ever seen in my life. That's why I don't listen to anything they say. But then it was interesting because a couple weeks ago, NBC came out with their power rankings, and they had the Knicks number 2. And I thought that was pretty impressive. Number 2 in the East, number 4 overall.
Oh.
So it was Boston, 2 West teams, and then the Knicks. So, but that's still saying number 2, right behind Boston.
Right.
So that was saying a lot.
Knicks 100 GM says, I don't know, Troy. Magic and Pacers are legit. Magic is coming up. I'll give the Magic that. They're young. They're still young, though. Last year showed me a little bit. They're going to have to prove themselves again this year. They can be good, but the East has gotten better as well, too. I think the Magic took advantage of a lot of teams last year because nobody saw them coming. And I think this year, a lot more teams are going to hone in on them and focus in on them. So I don't think it's going to be much of a surprise as much anymore. The Pacers, same thing as well, too. They were a little bit of a surprise. Nobody thought Halliburton was going to control that team as much as he did. And he turned out to be the all-star that they needed. So I think a lot of the teams that people are worried about, we were only worried about them last year because we never expected it from them last year. We expect it this year. It'd be like saying Detroit you're worried about because Detroit now has another year underneath their belt. But they were nothing last year. You expect them to be nothing this year, too. That makes sense. But I don't think I fear the Pacers and the Pacers and what's the other team you said?
Orlando.
Pacers and Magic, yeah. I don't fear the Pacers and Magic so much. The Cavs are a little bit of a situation for me because I don't fear them as much. But the thing is, they have the chemistry thing going on, don't they? With the roster that they have. I mean, they're building chemistry. Donovan Mitchell's still there. I guess Darius Garland's still there. So, I mean, what do you if you had to pick a team other than the Celtics that you think that a team in the East should be worried about, what team would that be other than the Celtics?
Philadelphia.
Right. It can't. You're not thinking of like the Magic and the Pacers. I get they're good teams. We're talking about the teams you're gonna be fearing or facing against in the playoffs. You're scared about facing the playoffs because of the talent level. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I don't feel that level with the Magic. They're a good team. Same thing with the Pacers. Good team, but again, there's a level to it. Go ahead.
You know what it comes down to, Troy? It comes down to the fact that every single year, being a Knicks fan and watching this team and trying to understand, how we stack up against other teams around the league, every year we go through the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, the Knicks are going to be good, but, everybody else is getting better. Every year I hear the same thing. And guess what? Every year I'm watching the Knicks continue to get better. They're actually progressing and excelling each year. So it's like you always hear, and there's no knock on any fans who feel this way. Yes, all these teams, they're young, up and coming. Teams like OKC have shown a lot. Like they've taken the next step a lot quicker than you would expect. But with all these other teams, I always say the same thing. The Knicks have gotten better too. You still got to worry about the Knicks. And even if the Knicks added no pieces, they were a good team to begin with. Sometimes it's the fear of the unknown, right? With like the Indiana Pacers. Everybody was talking, man, the Indiana Pacers, they're a steamroll team that were going to run over you with all that offense. And it's right. You know, they were running through a lot of teams in the league until they got smacked, right? Until you got to see, there's some kryptonite there. They're great offensively, but defensive, they got a lot of holes. I always felt like, shout out to Knicks 100 because he did say, matchups win fights. Taking your quote.
Yeah.
But until I saw the Knicks smack them when they got blown out in the playoffs and Indiana did their thing, when I saw the Knicks smack them and blow them out, playing their style of basketball, I'm not worried about teams like Indiana. They got some more work to do.
I agree. I think Indiana definitely has some more work to do. Knicks GM was also saying that we potentially should be worried about the Hornets as well, too, as they're coming up. Man, I got to say this really quickly, man. And I get it. Maybe I shouldn't puff my chest out this much, but I can't help it. We don't got to be fearful of those guys. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, guys. We don't. For the first time, maybe for a lot of you ever, we have the ability to puff our chests out. We are the better team. I don't care if we have to fear anybody. When you have the better team, guess what? You're likely going to win those games. I'll take those odds any day of the week because if you have the better team with the better chemistry and that talent level, you're going to win those games, even the hard games, even against the teams that are good, nice, the upcoming teams. So yes, I am concerned that there are teams that are going to be good again, but I'm not so concerned to the level that I'm counting my stars now thinking, if we see this team, we got to really lock in and focus. It's going to be like that against every team. Every team wants to take down the Knicks right now because the Knicks are the hot team to beat. It's like the Warriors back in the day when every team got up for the Warriors. Expect that to happen to the Knicks. You think nobody's hearing all this talk? The Knicks are this team. The Knicks are that team. The Knicks are going to be one of the best teams in the league. Everybody wants to shut us up. Everyone wants to shut us up. You know that, Ron. That's how it goes in the NBA. And when that 2013 season we're talking about, right? Remember there's a game we were playing OKC with. Everybody had us not winning that game. Kevin Durant was going off in that game with Russell during that time. Melo was playing that game. I remember during that time when we were getting counted out, when we were getting criticized, and it's such a far cry coming now to where we are here, where now people are fighting to say why we deserve to be in the conversation. You get what I'm saying? Like before, nobody would even come to our defense to say the Knicks need to be here, even though we had the talent probably to say that we did. Last year, you could have done this, I thought. Before that, Jalen's first year, you could have done that, I thought. But you didn't. You waited until you had to see it. That's what I'm saying. People wait till they see something before they know that they're ready. A lot of fans don't understand things yet because they haven't seen it yet. You're rushing. You're rushing. You're trying to get to a point where we're not there yet. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy this ride. You're not going to see it many times. I've been alive for a very long time. I've only been this hype and happy about the Knicks in a reality standpoint because I can't only get as much happy as I can for, Kadeem Allen every season, I can only get happy for him for a certain amount of time before I get upset about it, So right now there's so many things to be happy for if you're a Knicks fan. You have to have pride in your team. You have to believe in them. That's what they built you. They built you this team to believe. Ron, again, I don't understand it sometimes. John says, I disagree, Troy. Magic, young, athletic, play great defense, have size. Philly to me, and Embiid, slow and hobbled Paul George past his prime. Maxey, the one that makes up a matchup problem. Yeah, again, I don't know why people are hating on this Magic take, man. Listen, I'm not saying they're a bad team. They're a good team. The Magic are a good team. They are. I'm just not worried about them because we have a better team. That's all. We have a better team. It would be different if we didn't have that good of a team. Then I'd be worried. If we didn't make the Mikal Bridges deal, I'd be worried because they are a good team. They've come up. They've made differences. But after the Mikal Bridges deal, I don't know about you, Ron. Are you as worried about teams given the roster that we have? Should we be more concerned? Because, apparently a lot of the audience here seems like they are a little bit more concerned. Would you be?
I'm not concerned at all. I wasn't concerned prior to this. I wasn't concerned 2 years ago. I wasn't concerned, 3 years ago. I'm not going to be concerned this year either. I think the Knicks, all they've showed to everyone around the league is that they are a real team. They know what it takes to put together a winning product, and they're not going to stop for anybody else. They're just going to continue with what they're trying to do to head towards winning a championship. They're not worried about anybody else. They're just going to keep doing what they got to do. And I think what you're starting to see too is other players are starting to recognize it. The Knicks are on the tip of everybody's tongue. You get a lot of hate. You get a lot of the fanboys that come up too, but you also get a lot of the people using the Knicks for fodder, like the Gilbert Arenases of the world and the Draymond Greens. They talk about us, and I say us because we're Knicks fans, but they talk about us because they see that we are growing, that we are improving, that we are a force to be reckoned with. And then you got shout out to these two people, because I think they're keeping it real and they're not being homers of any sort, even though they could be. Kendrick Perkins, always showing love to the Knicks and stating that the Knicks are about their business. They're doing some things over there that you have to recognize and you have to respect. And then even Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is, look, the Knicks are becoming a problem. Y'all got to watch these Knicks. Next year, the Knicks are going to be a problem. That is real. It's not just because the Knicks made the playoffs and they got Jalen. No, the Knicks are playing good basketball. And the other thing that I think is really waking people up, because it's just how it is. All of this talent that we got is not all homegrown talent. We are actually poaching and picking talent from other teams that you saw these players excel over there. So now you can't say, oh, that guy's a bum. No, he was good there. Now he's with the Knicks. He's not a bum now. So I think it's just the writing's on the wall. Knicks are a good team. They're going to be a good team. And if they stay healthy, who knows what we're going to be talking about at the end of the season.
I hope it's a championship, because I already got my parade shoes, Ron, and I need a reason to use them. So I really hope it's the parade. Killer Dog says facts 100. I'm assuming he means that to you, Ron, with what you were saying just now about the Knicks, where we are right now, and the fact of the team that we got in the East. David M says, still have to be mindful of the Heat. Somehow Riley and Spo always find a way to get that team to compete. That's a very good point. I like that point. That point for me is probably one of the better points I heard all night in terms of another team to be worried about, because the Heat are sneaky, and I hate that they're sneaky, because they shouldn't be sneaky. They don't really have that great of a roster, do they? Not really, with Tyler Hero, Bam, and Jimmy. Bam, I know, is killer, but like, is Jimmy killer? Is Jimmy that good right now, given the injuries and everything else? I know he's going to be whatever he is during the regular season before he goes playoff Jimmy, but playoff Jimmy doesn't look the same. Playoff Jimmy looks a little bit different now. Playoff Jimmy gets hurt now. Playoff Jimmy's human. It's different. So the Heat are somebody to watch, but how much do we want to watch them? Watch them to an extent, but people are watching us. It's our time. We are the team to beat. We're one of the teams to beat. We are. Give us that respect too. I'm giving respect to all these teams. Don't think I'm not. I respect them in their talent level, but I also respect what we're doing, what we have, and what we have to combat all of that. We have a team now that we shouldn't be fearful of anybody we go in there with. No one, no matter who it is. But we can come out the other side just as good. John is responding in there. I see you, John. And Outlaw 24 says, the only problem we have with them, Orlando Magic, was height. They had a lot of tall players. Now we basically got that under control because we was weak at the wing for a little bit, especially with only OG. Paris says the team isn't more popular than the 90s Knicks yet. Let's hold off on that. Well, yeah, like I said before, some people have what they like. Some people love the 90s Knicks. Again, I grew up on the tail end of the 90s Knicks with my father, so I don't feel that same type of love and appreciation. Even though I love that team, I know how much a lot of fans love that team. But for me, it's a little bit different. Just like for you, it's a little bit different. You understand it. You respected that level, and you couldn't even say yet. You said, we'll see. And I respect that because you've seen the greatness, and I've seen the greatness. But I also understand what I'm watching now, what I'm seeing now, and where we are in the league right now. And that's why, for me, I'm saying it's better because of where we are and how we're seen in the league. That's the only reason I'm saying that. I'm not saying it based off a team or anything like that because I don't know that yet. I haven't seen it play out. But just based off of that alone, that's the only reason I'm saying it. But I can understand you, Parrish, and I appreciate you, man. I understand sometimes me and Parrish sometimes don't see eye to eye a lot of times. We have different conversations and different takes. I appreciate that, though, Parrish. Don't think I hate that. I like when we disagree. Disagreements cause everybody's basketball knowledge to expand. So you're helping me by doing that. So I appreciate you. Shout out to the 82 concurrent people we have watching the stream. We had a lot more in the first stream, and I know people are probably watching that replay right now, probably not even understanding we have this one up. But I promise you, the video will be combined. I am doing that as soon as we get off of this, combining it, and it will be scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, probably right around the time where the Olympics is going to be around. So hopefully you can kind of watch that in between your times where you're catching it. We'll have that up for you. And not even only that, I'm going to go even further beyond that. I'm going to create some clips from the actual show as well, too. And we're going to have that go out as separate videos as well. So I'm going to give you guys everything, okay? I'm going to work to the bone. I'm going to give you guys everything because that's how much I love you guys. And I love Knicks, love the Knicks content. And I love giving back to the community. That's why Knicks Live is here in the first place, right? And by me saying that before we end the show, I want to say again, still Knicks fans with Ron and John on the screen. At Still Knicks fans, okay? It's everywhere. You can see it on YouTube, on social media. You gotta follow the platforms, though. You're not gonna be able to get any of their new content, anything that Ron's doing or John's doing, especially with John running away from me each and every stream when I try to get him on the show. You know, you're not gonna be able to see why unless you tune in and watch what's going on with Ron. But now, shout out to John. I know he's dealing with a lot. Really appreciate what you guys have going on. And hopefully one day we can get that show going. But again, guys, please make sure you support all Knicks content creators, not just myself, not just Ron, but anybody else that does this. I can tell you for a fact, doing this on a day-to-day basis is not easy. Being able to get content out like that, having talking points is not easy. But you guys make it so much more enjoyable by allowing us to be able to come into your lives each and every night, each and every day, whatever it is, and give you that content. So I really do appreciate that. Ron, before we end up today, I want to go through a couple more comments here. I know you're chatting with a couple more people right now, so I appreciate you doing that on the other end there. But I want to go through a couple more comments because we got about maybe 8 minutes left, and the chat is still a little bit lively. So let's see. J Tap says, Troy got me out here ready to run suicide drills. Let's go. Let's go. So apparently I got some people hype. I appreciate that. Quiet Money says, salute to Troy, salute to Ron, salute to you, brother. I really appreciate you. Quiet Money says that Parrish is a hater. Listen, I don't think Parrish is a hater. Parrish is very, what's the word I'm looking for? He has a certain perspective about the Knicks that he likes to look at and he likes to see. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody has different perspectives. I like those perspectives. That type of perspective helps me understand him, what he thinks about the team, and that's how we have a conversation. So I don't mind that at all. I love the disagreements. Let's see here. What else do we have going on?
Troy,
Yeah.
I think Parrish just said it. That is the reason why he has a different perspective. He said it. If you don't mind, I'll read what he said.
Yeah, go ahead.
He said, this is him talking in the third person.
Yeah, hey, go ahead.
He said, Parrish is 62. I saw Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe. They not better than Brunson or Melo or Ewing. So okay. I mean, but he saw the Knicks team when they had a nice, really exciting run.
Right.
And so he saw championship basketball.
And listen, I understand. That's why I don't have a problem with it, because once you've seen that, it's hard to say that any team is better when they've not given you anything yet. So I can understand that perspective. I'm thinking about it in terms of where they are, like I said, now in the NBA. So it's all about how you look at it, how you view it in perspective. I get it. I understand, Paris. I see where you're coming from. And I appreciate how long you've been a fan. That's also amazing, because I love people who's watched this team for year to year to year, because you get the best viewpoint, the best vantage point to understand where this team has come from. So you, more than anybody else, should understand why I'm so excited to be where we are right now, because it doesn't happen often. Look how long you've been a fan. How many times have we had a window? Can't be too many in your lifetime. Because it hasn't been too many in mine, and definitely not in Ron's. So that's all I'm trying to say there. Let's keep it going here. Knicks Rewind. He's on the screen right now. I'm trying to see what he said there. We haven't seen this team compete. Our bench have Devo and Hart. Now the only position in question is the 5. Losing iHeart was big. but not big enough to slow this train down. I'm glad that fans still believe in us. I'm glad that fans still think and appreciate what we do on a day-to-day basis actually matters in terms of the team getting better, understanding where we are, our position in the East, and also position in the league. A lot of fans don't seem to understand it at times because they still feel that other teams are better. It's like natural to feel that way as a Knicks fan, right? Sometimes you feel natural to say, oh, well, that team's probably better than us. It's not natural to say the Knicks are better. That's why everybody's going at me right now, because it's not natural to say the Knicks are the team to watch. The Knicks are the team to beat. I understand that. Oh my God, Knicks GM is saying Earl the Pearl not better than Brunson. Come on, man. Earl the Pearl. Let me continue going here. Earl the Pearl was a stone killer. That's nonsense. They're going off in the chat. I appreciate it. Listen, I'm not trying to go back and forth with you guys. Listen, I'm not saying who is the best generation of Knicks, what player is individually better than the other player or fit or anything like that. You guys go crazy in that with the comments. All I'm trying to say is I am legitimately happy that we finally have a team that we can root for that has championship aspirations. Let's just leave it at that before we continue here. All right, last comment, and then we're going to end the show. And I want it to be for somebody new. Let's see. Let's go for David, because David has a nice comment here. David Smith. When all said and done, Brunson could go down as the greatest Knick of all time. Well, you know what? I think we all in some way can agree with that. Not saying he's the greatest Knick right now. Not saying he's over Walt right now. But if he continues in this trajectory, I can see him becoming one of the greatest Knicks of all time. Ron, with Jalen, his success, what he's doing right now, and his trajectory, you've seen some of the best Knicks of all time grace the court. If he continues with the run that you've seen, what are your expectations for Brunson when it's all said and done and his legacy?
Yeah, I think he definitely will go down as definitely one of the best Knicks we've ever had. I think more importantly, the way he plays and his grit and his tenacity and just what he can do at his height, I think he'll go down as one of the best players in the NBA, period. And I also think that, it's one of those things where you just hope that Jalen Brunson gets a fair shake to create something special here with this New York Knicks team. And I say that knowing that I've seen it in the past, right? He's a lot more personable, okay? He's a lot more forthcoming. He wears his heart on the sleeve. So automatically that's endearing to the Knicks fan. And I think that the fellow Knicks fans will love that about him. And that's going to help him going forward. And I mean, look, he even has a podcast going on throughout the season, which is crazy. It's unheard of, but right. This is the day and age now.
Right. How it works.
But I did watch Patrick Ewing, right? And I'm not saying he's nowhere near Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing was not personable. Patrick Ewing did not want to do interviews. Patrick Ewing wasn't the best person to talk to on any level after a game, especially if the Knicks lost.
Oh, yeah.
But I do know that in the end, Patrick Ewing gave his all for this New York Knicks team. He put blood, sweat, and tears out there on the court. He was our best player for a reason, and he had no real consistent help. He had good players surrounding him. No knock on John Starks, the Xavier McDaniels, the Oakleys, all of these guys, the Anthony Masons, but just never like to the same level of Patrick Ewing. Whereas some of these guys nowadays, like Jalen Brunson he does have the benefit of being out there with a Julius Randle. He does have the benefit of being with an OG Anunoby, who I think is going to continue to grow in this league and be one of the better players. So he has that at his disposal. And I hope he just gets a fair shake from the Knicks fan to understand that he is one of the best things that we've had in a long time to come along. What is his legacy defined by? Is it just because he changed the culture and he helped bring consistent winning to the team? Or are people going to judge him by championship? Because if he doesn't win a ring, will they look at him differently? Will he not be one of the better players that we've always had? So I don't know. But I think he definitely should go down as one of the best eventually if he continues to do what he's been doing. So I'm looking forward to it.
I absolutely agree. I think that Brunson will eventually get there. I mean, his work ethic will make him get there. Just like his work ethic got him team captain. Shout out to the new captain. Appreciate you, Brunson. I think that the sky's the limit for this kid. I've never seen a point guard for the Knicks, like in terms of having New York behind him like this. coming to New York in 2 years and doing this. It's pretty impressive. Not many people can come to New York and say they've done that on a point guard level. We've been looking for it for years. I mean, we've been devoid of it for years. I know we had Earl the Pearl. I know we had Walt, but I mean, we're talking about 70s. You can't really, if you talk about any other time with the Knicks, I mean, yeah, we tried certain point guards. There've been certain stops, but we've never had the confidence and faith in the level of play in a point guard for at least the modern age, last 20 something odd years, than Jalen. Jalen has been the constant. And for me, that constant will take him to the levels he needs to go to. That constant will take us to the level we need to go to. And that is an NBA championship. Now, for everybody who's on the live stream, I appreciate you guys. This is the end of the live stream. And I appreciate some of the guys actually coming back. We kind of got back up to where we were. Not exactly, but somewhat exactly. I do appreciate everybody who's joined, who came to, support me and Ron tonight doing this special collaboration. As I said, just as a favor to you guys, because I do apologize for YouTube always causing issues, I will be clipping this entire thing together for you guys, making sure it's a full video for tomorrow afternoon, so you'll see that. And on top of that, I'll be clipping some of these parts. They will go out as future videos, so check them out on the weekend and things like that. This is, again, to help promote other content creators, help their content get off the ground or do even better, because that's what the community is for. It's on screen again, as you see, at Still Knicks Fans. Please give them a follow. Support is absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a dime, and it all goes to the same thing. Helps the Knicks, helps the Knicks community, helps the Knicks organization. Ron, you've been a great guest tonight. I really do appreciate it. Any last words before we end the stream tonight?
Just want to say once again, thank you for having me, being a part of your platform. This has been great. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties, but that's life. And you know what? Our New York Knicks team is it hasn't been the greatest. We've had the ups and downs for the Knicks team as well. So
right.
it's only par for the course. And I just want to just say thank you to the kind words that you mentioned to me off screen. Once again, I appreciate that, and it just tells us that we're doing something good and we should continue pushing forward. And I just enjoy everything out there. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, supporting not only Still Knicks fans, but also Troy and the Knicks Recap and everything he's got going on. Listen, as I always say, just let's continue to keep growing and keep glowing.
Growing and keep glowing. I love it. That's the perfect way to end the show. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining in. We will be live again next Wednesday. I keep doing this every Wednesday now. It seems like I'm going to be doing a live stream with another content creator. We got another one lined up for Wednesday. I can't tell you who it is, but I promise you, we don't agree. And the amount of back and forth that you're going to see with that content creator is going to be off the charts. Legendary, if I say so. Legendary, if I should say so myself. So please make sure you're tuned in for that. We will also be having a live stream on Friday, this Friday, basically in 2 days. We're going to be talking about Scott Perry, his comments on Julius Randle. Also, Bobby Marks was in the news recently talking about Julius Randle and how much he would probably want to give Randle as an extension. So those topics will come up again this Friday. Don't forget, support is free. Support the Knicks Recap. Support Still Knicks fans. Don't forget to smash and obliterate that like button. Smash that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 20K subscribers. 4K away. You guys, your support, you guys are the reason we're going to get there. So please and thank you so much for joining the show today, for supporting the stream. And until next time, guys, me and Ron, we're out of here. Peace and love. Thank you, guys. And again, see you next week. Peace out, guys.